I have now left Europe twice in my life. Not once, but twice. The first time was 15 years ago. I was born and raised in Poland, and then after a while I moved to Ireland and I spent some time there. And about 15 years ago I decided to come to Australia. So I left Europe behind, got Australian visa, and then later on citizenship, and I decided to stay here forever. But last year, 2022, it seemed like it is time to make a change. And so I made a decision to return to Europe. And main reasons for that was just me missing my family very much. Because due to COVID, I didn't see them for about 5 years in person. We were very much connected online through Zoom and WhatsApp and etc. But I just did not want to be in a position ever again where I cannot see them in person and come and meet them and hug them and embrace them and spend quality time with them. So I made a decision, very hard decision, to leave Australia behind and to return to Europe permanently. I was considering different countries, whether I should set myself up in Poland or alternatively in a different country, a different European country. But I did end up going back to Poland in January of this year, 2023. So packed up my life in Australia and I went back to Poland. As of November 2023, I am actually back in Australia because I just could not possibly stay in Europe any longer. And we're gonna have a chat about why that is the case, because I am asked about that very often. Why couldn't you go back? Why couldn't you stay in Europe? Like, what happened? What's wrong with Europe? And I really want to address that here. There's just so many reasons. I almost don't know where to start, but I feel like I'm gonna start with people. People in Europe make me feel, on one hand, lonely, and on the other hand, suffocated. It seems like there is such a culture of negativity in Europe and in many places in Europe. And so just interacting with people there or being surrounded by people there means that there is always a certain level of negativity going around. Whereas here in Australia, I actually learned that it is not only possible, but very much normal and doable to be kind, supportive, loving, caring, generous with people around you, and to receive that kind of love, care, support, help, and to have that sense of community, that the community that loves and supports you, that is not gonna rip you off, that is not gonna take advantage of you, but like literally in Australia, I feel so loved and surrounded by the most amazing human beings, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. There is also the lifestyle. I really feel so contracted in Europe in the way people live their lives. There is such proximity that you live with everybody else, like there's so many people in Europe and majority of them live in apartments. So you've got just people on top of people and then more people around. Whereas here, people mostly live in houses. I mean, if you really want to be like in the city, then there's a lot of apartments there as well. But here, there's such spaciousness. There's so much nature around. It is so easy to find a place with nature around, and I really resonate with that. So there's definitely that kind of expansiveness wherever I go, in Australia. There's also the weather that is so permissive of being outside and spending time outdoors. In Europe, I swear, I was so sick of spending time indoors because there was just the weather wasn't so allowing of spending so much time outside, and so you would kind of need to be indoors quite a lot, and I don't respond to that very well. Like, if I have to, I'll do it. But here, the fact that I just, I can spend basically the entire day in my backyard, that I can be outside, that it's so easy to find nature and go for walks. There are all the beaches where, I can meet up with my friends and, and go for walks. It's just like the outdoors, like the outdoor lifestyle suits me so well. And it's not only, like, it's not just weather allowing it, but it's actually beautiful and amazing to be spending all that time outdoors. And I'm not saying that you don't have amazing nature and beautiful places in Europe, but just they're not as easily accessible. You typically have to travel for quite a bit to get to them, and for most of the year it doesn't even make sense to go there because it is so cold that people just spend time indoors. There is also a very important matter of food and being healthy. And I mean, look, I grew up in Poland. I grew up with the European standard of food, and I never saw any problem with that. I never thought that I would have, any problems with like the way that Europeans eat. But then I ended up in Australia, and I learned that the quality of food, of the ingredients, can be so amazingly rich and full of nutritional value, full of flavor, In comparison, European foods just seem so bland and so lacking in flavor, but also in nutritional value as well. There's also all the pollution, and things did get quite extreme for me when I was spending some time in Paris, because I really struggled there. My throat was so sore, my lungs were sore, and I struggled. I felt so poorly when I was in Paris, and there are places obviously where it is better, but so many people, so many cars, so many cities, like it just has a negative effect on the air. Water quality isn't fantastic either. Poland doesn't even have drinking water in the taps, so you have to filter your water, or you have to be buying mineral water. Whereas here in Australia, the air is amazing, the water quality is amazing. I can freely drink water from the tap. It is of delicious taste and amazing quality. So I am seriously so much healthier as long as I'm living in Australia. Like, I feel my body being so much healthier and responding so much better to the food here in Australia, to the air, to the quality of water. I feel better. My skin looks better. My hair is better. I have more energy. I just feel amazing. There's so much energy and wellness in my body, as opposed to what I feel when I am in Europe. And there's also the matter of my spirituality in my spiritual life. Here, like, it's so different. You can so easily find people who are spiritual, or that are and feel deeply connected to this land, to its traditions and to its ancestors. And there's just such I know, sacredness about Australia. And again, obviously not everybody supports it, and there's logging happening, and there's greed and corporate greed and mining and all of that. And this land is being unfortunately slowly destroyed by people, but it's still here. Like, that sacredness is still here, that spirituality is still here. There's so many events that people organize, around spirituality and mindfulness and the sacredness of life around here, especially in Melbourne. That's why I love Melbourne so much, and that's why I decided to return to Melbourne, even though during my 15 years in Australia I lived in Melbourne, Northern Rivers, Sydney, Gold Coast and Brisbane. But without any shadow of a doubt, I happily returned to Melbourne, and this is where I intend to stay, and this is where I am building my life. So yeah, very different. Like, in Europe, I feel like I am just like, life is just centered around surviving, and and obviously people try to enjoy their lives, as much as they can. But here, like, survival is granted because the lifestyle is so much better and it's so much easier to make a living. So then people also have this added space in their minds, but also, in their lives, where they can actually cultivate like the fulfillment of their spiritual needs. And it's so prevalent here. Again, that does exist in Europe as well, but here it is so common, and it is so easy for me to find, circles, like women's circles, for example, or full moon circles, or I'm intending to go to a bush bathing and gratitude ceremony based in these kind of indigenous ideas and traditions. Like, I'm going to that soon. My soul and my heart respond to all of that so strongly, and I seriously feel so happy and so fulfilled in Australia, the way that I never did in Europe. This land feels ancient and sacred and beautiful and expansive. What can I tell you? Europe does not feel like that to me.